Good morning, I'm Jon Thelen. Today on Fish Ed, I'm fishing a body of water that's just loaded with bait this year. It's made it really a pretty tough bite, and this is usually a pretty reliable lake, but this year it's been a little bit tougher because it's just full of minnows, it's full of larvae, it's full of all kinds of different things that the walleyes are eating, and it's making it harder to get them to eat your bait. But there's a few tips and tricks that can help you catch a few fish when your lake goes through this, and that's what we're going to talk about today. So stay right where you're at. Fish Ed's coming up. There's one. Got him. Ooh, feels like a pretty good fish to start too. Feels like, well, the first walleye anyway. Yeah, this is a good fish. This is one of them situations that you find yourself in where this lake is normally just automatic. Ooh, this is a great eye. This lake is usually just so automatic, and every time I come here, I just know I'm going to catch fish. And what happens though on this lake, it's happening this year, and I see it happen on lakes over and over and over because I'm lucky enough to get to spend a lot of time on a lot of different bodies of water. Every body of water out there goes through cycles. There's just nothing you can do about it. And what we think, the first thing that goes through our mind is, oh geez, these walleye bites, they just cycle, and sometimes you have good years, bad years in certain spots. But what happens is, as much as we want to believe that these bites cycle because walleye populations go up and down, that's really very seldom the case. The main reason that bites on bodies of water cycle is because of bait fish. When the bait fish boom, the walleyes have a ton of food to eat. And this fish right here, I mean, he's got food everywhere. He doesn't need to necessarily eat what I'm offering because there is food everywhere in the system right now. I mean, I could see it on my graph. It's just everywhere. But there are ways to catch these fish. And I don't like giving up on a body of water just because it's in a cycle, a boom in bait, because I know there's a lot of good fish here. And I also know this, they're healthy, they're big, they're fat, and they're gonna only get bigger. So I wanna be able to fish these bodies of water even when those bites change. And you'll see it change year to year. I mean, some years when you're down in bait, and Mille Lacs Lake, my home body of water, I see it happen all the time. I mean, you go up and down, the bite's great one year, it's terrible the next, and it's all got to do with bait. So one of the things you wanna do is just really look at all the little things that you can do on any given day to help you catch fish, because it's not one of those deals where they're biting all the way across the lake. There's food everywhere. They don't need to bite all the way across the lake. So what I do in these situations is really pay attention to the details. That's what we're going to talk about as today's show goes on. How can you make sure to catch fish even in these types of situations? Because if you can figure it out, man, I'd rather fish a body of water that's full of walleyes, even though there's a lot of bait, than a body of water that's low on walleyes and they might be hungrier, because ultimately I know there's piles of them right in here. I just got to do everything right to catch them. There's one. Got him. Feels like a pretty good one too. Oh yeah, that's good fish. Just turn the boat to go back through here. Ooh, I hope that's a walleye. It's acting awful lot like a pike. But you know, they all live together. That's one of the things you find out. You know, boy, I don't know. We'll see. Oh no, nice walleye. Look at that. Look at that. I just wasn't sure. This fish just kind of spun in circles on me down there, and he had me thinking that he was a pike, but that's a great eye right there. Look how fat this fish is. Hang on here, buddy, and we'll get you unhooked. I think he got him. Look at that. With that one flop, he unhooked himself. Look at this one. Look at how fat that walleye is. That thing is just chunky. Look at him. He's not long, but look at how fat that fish is. That's awesome right there. He's going to go in the live well because we're keeping a couple today for dinner. But man, I'll tell you, there's a little bit of a stretch there without a fish. And it's just been this weather change. There's nothing that changed except for the fact the wind went clockwise on us. Now it's right back where I want it to be, and we caught a fish again. Let me show you what I'm using though, because one of the things that I think is so important when you're sitting in this situation, this lake is full of bait this year. I mean, it's just crazy full. And that's why that fish looks like that. I mean, he's eating anything he wants to eat whenever he wants to eat. I mean, he doesn't have to think about it. He just turns around, looks around a little bit, sees what he wants to eat, and grabs it. I mean, there's that much bait in here. So one of the things I really believe in doing in that situation is this. Use something that's a bigger profile. Something that they're not accustomed to seeing, but yet stay in the color scheme. So I'm in a color scheme that looks real similar to all the minnows in here, okay? Now, I've made a few changes on the extra rod because I can run 2 rods here in North Dakota. But one of the things I'm doing is I'm staying in a primary color scheme. They're eating just a silver or gold-sided minnow in here, and that's why I'm using this little guy in this color. But the thing I'm doing is I'm fishing that crawler, and the reason I'm fishing this little guy in general today is because I can put a lot bigger profile down there. I'm able to grab their attention with this bait running like this because this little guy, it just trucks right along. Now this thing's available in 3 different sizes, but today I'm using this one because this is about the right size for the minnows they're eating. And then I'm adding that crawler. Put that big profile behind there, and here's what happens when you do that. You put that bigger profile down there, and all these minnows that I'm pulling through right now, this comes through there and it grabs their attention because it's a little bit different. And if you just got something a little bit different, your odds of getting them to bite it are a little bit higher. Now here's the thing. You go through your crankbaits and you might not touch fish, and here's why. There's too many options for them. They don't have to chase. But the cool thing about the Lindy Lil guy is you can fish it as slow as a spinner, even slower actually, because his body floats. So I'm just picking along, I'm barely moving, and I'm seeing all the bait on the screen. There's bait everywhere. But as I'm going through there, I'm pulling that little bit bigger profile, I'm grabbing their attention, but I've got something that looks similar. And if you can put that whole thing together, here's what happens. All of a sudden, that fish that's been laying there, probably in that same spot all morning, just sitting there eating, this came through there and he was willing to grab it. So keep that in mind. Use something like this. This Lindy Lil guy is, as far as I'm concerned, one of the best baits out there. You can get this thing in 3 different sizes. I'm fishing the small 1-inch size today. There's also an 1.5 inch and then a 2-inch. So if you're fishing waters where you got bigger baits, you can work your way right up. But I think it's one of the coolest baits out there. It's a hybrid bait. It's kind of in between that crankbait and spinner, but it allows you to move really slow or go really fast. Now today it's slow because I'm trying to trigger fish that have plenty to eat. There's one. Got him. Oh yeah, feels like another good eye. I think one of the most important things you can do when you're dealing with the situation we have, where a lake is just full of bait, is understanding that you gotta pick your highest percentage areas. You can't just rely on the things that you can rely on when the bite's great. And what I mean by that is, when the bite's great, it seems a lot of times like you can fish about anywhere and catch them. But you can't do that when there's bait everywhere. When there's bait everywhere in a system, what happens is these fish can be a lot more picky. Look at how he ate that bait. Fishing a Lindy Little guy, and I mean, he's got that thing all the way down his throat. These fish will still eat. Look at that, he came out pretty good, but he was gullet hooked. He's got a little bit of bleeding in there, so I think we'll keep him. I'm gonna keep one for dinner tonight anyway, or a couple of them, but that's a great fish right there. But here's what I'm talking about. You can go running around this lake today, and you might be able to find a few more spots that are far more comfortable to fish. I've got a big south wind, a little bit chilly for midsummer. I mean, I'm dressed in the rain gear just to more or less to stay warm. I don't expect it to rain on me today, but I want to stay a little bit warmer. It's a little bit chilly and the wind's ripping. Here's the most important thing though. If we have a year where we have a shortage of bait in this lake, I'd catch fish anywhere. I can go find the most comfortable spot on the lake. I could probably shed the jacket. I could probably kick back in calm water and catch fish. But here's the thing, not right now. Right now, I'm forced and I'm in this situation to fish the highest percentage areas I can find. And that's gonna be in the wind. Now, I might have gone through 100 fish back here. I caught one of them. But the bottom line is, if I was fishing in calm stuff right now with all this bait in the lake, my odds would be way lower because the fish are just not going to be as active. So the number one thing I do in this situation is I try to pick areas where I'm playing the wind. This whole stretch that I'm fishing right here has wind kind of quartering into it, and there's little points and stuff coming out of it, and the fish are stacked up in here. So remember that. Start by picking your highest percentage areas, because that's where the bait's going to be blowing into, and that's where the walleyes are going to be. There he is. Got him. Feels like another good one. Feels like an eye too. Oh yeah, look at that. Another great walleye. Come here, buddy. Come here. That's it. Got him. That's another great fish. Man, I'll tell you, these can be the toughest situations that you can ever run into. It's times when your favorite body of water just flat out fills up with bait. It can make fishing tough, but I'll tell you, if you just do a few of the things we've done today, just make a few little adjustments, you can catch fish like that. I mean, they'll bite. You just got to fish the high percentage areas. You got to fish baits, bulk them up a little bit, get a little bit bigger, be in the same neighborhood color-wise, but bulk them up. Walleyes like that, they'll still bite. That's an awesome way to wrap up a day right there.